Hello everyone, this is part 3C of Unit 10 UGC NET JRF Forensic Science, Miscellaneous Injuries. Miscellaneous injuries include electrical injuries, radiation injuries, lightning injuries and blast injuries. First we will talk about electrical injuries. First is joule burn. So these are endogenous thermal burn due to heat generated inside the body from electricity. There will be entry marks. Skin of the mark is pale. The shape of the mark can be round, oval, chalky white, shallow. These are mostly present on the palmar region of hands. Agro reaction test helps to identify entry wound of joule burn based on the deposition of metal particles at the site of entry. Next are arc current or flash burns. These are high voltage burn. These burns causes keratin of the skin to melt, and on cooling this molten keratin fuses into multiple brownish nodules. Spark burn, when the contact is less and the current jumps from the source to the skin, from the gap. Crocodile flash burns are produced due to electric arc effect over large areas. Radiation injuries are due to radioactive compounds. Lightning injuries due to lightning. Blast injuries impart crush in compartment syndrome. It has various effects. The primary ones are due to pressure, secondary due to projectiles, tertiary due to effects of wind, quaternary due to burns, asphyxia and exposure to toxic inhalants, and flash burns due to the radiations. Now the effects of electrical injuries. Ventricular fibrillation occurs usually below the voltage 220. Paralysis of respiratory center usually above 1000 volts. Voltage between 200 to 1000 may cause both fibrillation and respiratory paralysis. Metallization or deposition of metals can be detected in the entry point due to Joule's heat, what we have already discussed about. Identification of Joule burn entry point. Local capillary contraction, micro blisters within squamous epithelium, large vacuoles within epidermal cells with nuclei which are fusiform, hyperchromatic and shows peculiar distortion and stretching. There will be dark staining with H and E, that is hematoxylin and eosin. Now the post-mortem findings in case of electrical injuries. These appear similar to that of asphyxia. Ecchymosis along the path of the current, extensive muscle damage may produce myoglobinuria, fragmentation of axons in the peripheral nerves, minute hemorrhages in the brain and meninges. Internal organs are congested, lungs are edematous and congested. Vascular thrombosis in the vicinity of electrical burns. Bone pearls or wax drippings, bone necrosis and zigzag micro fractures. So these are the symptoms, these are the findings of the post-mortem. Lightning injuries are due to high voltage and current within the range of 10,000 to 2 lakh and voltage up to 20 million volts for about a fraction of second, 1 by 1000 second. So there will be superficial markings that are known as filigree burns, Lichtenberg burn figures or arborescent burns caused by the flashover effect of non-penetrating current. The cause of death is cardiopulmonary arrest, damage to central nervous system, electrocution, respiratory center paralysis, thermal injuries. And there is Kirano medicine, which deals with medical aspects of lightning injuries. So these are the Lichtenberg figures, and they disappear within a day or two. The post-mortem findings of lightning injuries. So rigor mortis appears and passes off early. There will be presence of burns, clothes burnt or torn, mechanical injuries due to throwing, fusion of metallic objects or magnetization, petechial hemorrhages in brain, generalized congestion. Now the traffic injuries, road accident injuries, you can say, head and brain injuries. These include concussions or other traumatic brain injuries, internal bleeding, skull fractures, or lacerations. Neck and back injuries include whiplash, herniated discs, spinal cord damage, sprains or strains. And whiplash injuries are associated with the driver of the car in accidents. These are mostly observed on these particular cases. These injuries are due to forceful back and forth movement of the neck. Burn injuries, burns can run the spectrum from minor to fatal. Burns can be minor or they can be major. Soft tissue injuries, when muscle, tendons or ligaments are stretched or torn. Spinal injuries, when the spinal cord is damaged or broken bones, and there is copious hemorrhage which is observed in these cases. It is a type of lacerated wound. Now coming on to the gunshot wounds. So wound ballistic is the study of effect of projectiles on the body or the living tissue. The mist-like spatter is indicative of gunshot. So when there is a forceful action of the projectile, the blood will be sprayed out of the body in the form of micro droplets. And 10% gelatin gel block is used for the study of wound ballistics. The range is the distance between the muzzle end of the firearm and the target or the body. So ranges can be contact range when the muzzle end is in contact with the body, close range up to 8 centimeter, near range within the distance traveled by unburnt or partially burned gunpowder up to 40 to 50 centimeter in case of handguns and 60 to 100 in case of rifles. Distant range is beyond the range of flame, smoke and gunpowder particles. Now the rifled firearm injuries. So when the bullet tries to penetrate the skin, so it will spin and the edges of the entrance wound would be abraded. In that case they are known as abrasion collar or areola. In cases if there is a contusion or surrounding the entrance wound, so it is termed as the contusion collar. There are also grease can also be observed on the entrance wound because barrel of the firearm is lubricated between uses. So when the bullet is propelled out of the barrel, which carry the grease or the lubricant, so it will get deposited on the entrance wound, and this is known as grease or dirt collar. The abrasion and grease collar normally measures about only 0.3 to 0.7 centimeter respectively. When both these collars are present, the grease collar is observed as the inner zone and abrasion as the outer. Tattooing or peppering. So first of all, before watching gunshot wound video, I suggest you to watch my previous video unit 5 UGC NET JRF Forensic Science about ballistics first. So tattooing or peppering, we all know it is because of the grains of the gunpowder. Blackening or smudging, it is because of the deposition of the smoke. Lead or metal ring, because of the bullet composition. A contact wound over a dense area such as vault of the skull is generally large and star shaped or stellate. It is due to the explosive effects of the gases, of the liberating gases. So there will be a star shaped wound. Sometimes, due to the direct contact of the muzzle with the skin, there will be the imprint of the muzzle of the weapon on the skin. Burning, blackening, tattooing are slight or absent in the adjacent skin because all the components are inside, are driven inside the wound because the range is very less because of the contact wound. Tissue are often saturated with carbon monoxide, and therefore the blood is cherry red in color. Cranial contact wounds are generally seen on the forehead. The contact wounds over thin bone, chest or abdomen are usually circular in shape and are surrounded by abrasion or contusion collar. Now the close shot, when the firearm is not in direct contact with the skin but the range is less. So the firearm is within the range of the flame, and the blackening or burning or tattooing is observed, and the flame will travel up to 75 centimeter in case of revolver and 15 centimeter in case of rifle. The wound will appear as a circular hole, and the wound will be surrounded by scorching, singeing, blackening, tattooing, abrasion collar, grease collar, etc. So here in contact wound, all these components were inside the wound because of the distance, because the distance is very, there is no distance between the muzzle and the skin. But here all these holes are observed. All these boundaries or as you can say, the boundaries are observed around the entrance hole. When we fire, a flame is generated. So in close shot, the firearm, the muzzle of the firearm and the body is within the range of the flame, but in near shot the firearm and the body will be outside the region of the range of the flame, but inside the range of the powder blast. So the entry wound is circular or oval. Unburned powder grains, tattooing is observed, and small metallic particles that travel approx up to 60 centimeter in case of revolver and 75 centimeter in case of rifle are observed. In near shot, singeing and scorching are absent, and tattooing is present up to the distance of 90 centimeter, smudging up to 30 centimeter. Grease collar and abrasion collar are present. Now the distant shot. So the firearm is outside the range of the flame and also the powder. Entry wound is circular and inverted margins are observed. Scorching, tattooing, blackening all are absent. Grease collar and abrasion collar are present. Now the different types of fractures. So glancing bullet produces gutter fracture, in which a part of skull bone is removed and it produces abrasion and beveling on one side, and there will be undermining of the tissue on other. Pond's fracture or ping pong skull fracture. It is a shallow, round, depressed fracture observed in cranial walled bone of infant skull caused by inner buckling of the calvarium. This is not due to the bullet. These are skull fractures but are not due to the bullet or gunshot wound. Fissure fracture, when there is a crack from extending from a surface but not through a long bone. Depressed fracture or signature fracture, fracture of skull in which a fragment is depressed. Comminuted fracture, when a single bone is splitted into 3 or more fragments or it is crushed. Knobbing fractures are observed in battered baby syndrome. Now the age of wounds and vasoactive enzymes, working on it. So up to 10 minutes calpains and cathepsins, 30 minutes histamine, 1 hour ATPase, adenosine triphosphatase, esterase, 8-hour alkaline phosphatase. And here I am talking about wounds in general, not only about the gunshot wounds. Profession and the characteristic injuries. Tennis player calcaneal petechiae, battery chargers blackening of skin, boxers fibromatous nodules overlying finger joints, blacksmith scars on back of the hand, athletes black discoloration of toenail due to subungual hematoma, bricklayers flattening of thumb and index finger, carpenters callosities of thumb, index finger and palm, coal miner blue scars over hands and face, shoemaker depression on the sternum. So this is how we can know about the profession of the person by observing the following characteristics. Thank you for watching. For more such videos, like, share and subscribe my YouTube channel Vidhi Vigyan. Thank you.